Why do most business owners get finance wrong?
The biggest myth is how much their own business is worth.
Is that denial or delusion?
Delusion.
What do the best businesses do with financial management?
It's really rare for an owner-managed business to get beyond a certain point. There aren't really any owner-managed businesses above 10 million. There is a method to go beyond that.
I mean, what are the keys to acquiring businesses successfully?
Right, so here's the thing that you won't expect me to say.
Right.
Welcome to the ActionCOACH podcast. ActionCOACH is the world #1 in business coaching.
Since 1993, we've helped thousands of business owners and entrepreneurs worldwide smash through their limits and achieve extraordinary results. This is more than a podcast, it's your blueprint for success. So grab a pen and paper, take notes, and make sure you hit the subscribe button and notification bell for weekly growth insights. Let's do this.
ActionCOACH, the help you need to grow your business. I just had a conversation with Saul Cohen, and he shared the two biggest reasons why acquisitions fail for most business owners. He also shared where to start when it comes down to financial management, and that is in building the department itself. You want to look at the 5 different areas that constitute that department running smoothly each and every single month. A bit of a blinding flash of the obvious for me was that generally people expect a lot more from the accountant, and it's not the right thinking. And if you do want to get into acquisitions, the first place is to start by getting a valuation on your business. I'm just making notes on stuff that you're saying that's absolutely gold dust for the audience.
Great.
Why do most business owners get finance wrong?
I think there's a couple of reasons. The first is that there's no school of how to run a business, right? No one teaches you this stuff.
True.
You just most people and all of us do it in our own way. We all just sort of come in and give it our best shot and sort of start hustling and learn, build the plane as we're flying it, so to speak. And I think that's the first reason, is that people have just never had any training in it, in the same way that I've never had training in how to hire someone. And we just give it our best shot and do what we can. And I think because of that, they never run their businesses from the number. They always run it from what feels comfortable.
Interesting point, that last point, is it they never run the business from the number. They run it from what they feel most comfortable with.
Yeah.
So how do you get to the point when you start running the business from the number?
For most people, it will be when they get to a certain size that they'll start to feel it as a pain point.
Right.
Yeah. So normally it's around, sort of upwards of £500,000 to £1 million, right? Because if we get into that point, up until £1 million, I mean, not always, but generally, if it's a really good business, it's a good idea, it's a profitable idea, and you've thought enough about, am I making enough margin on this, in whatever way you want to put it. Have you thought enough about, is my sales price high enough above my cost price to cover all the other costs I've got in the business? Then the hustle will be fine up until probably around $1 million. When you get to $1 million in revenue, the shape of the business starts to change a little bit, and the hustle isn't enough anymore.
You've got to get down to detail.
Yeah.
And ideally, you want to get down to detail earlier than that, somewhere between 500k and $1 million.
Yeah, I mean, look, in an ideal world, you want to have a business plan done before you even get started and whatever. But if we're being practical about it, as you say, the best point really if you haven't done it by $500,000, get it in then, because it'll be less painful.
But the point is, when you get to $1 million at the very latest, you need a business plan. Why do you say you need that to get to the next level?
So I think at $1 million, the hustle isn't enough anymore. Because if you just keep hustling into post $1 million, it's going to get too stressful. To get beyond £1 million, you need leverage. And for you to achieve leverage, you need to start building assets in the business. And when I'm using assets as a sort of an accounting term, but really when I'm talking about assets, I'm talking about the soft processes in the business, right? Your ways of working, your way of recruiting people. You're going to need to have a team. You're going to need to be able to manage a team. The whole business landscape gets more complicated, and with that comes costs and metrics that need to be tracked, and it just becomes really hard to manage it if all you're doing is hustle. And so you need to be more organized.
So you're in the acquisitions industry,
Yeah.
the mergers and acquisitions industry. What are some of the worst businesses that you look at? Let's just describe them in detail.
We try and encourage our clients to only buy businesses above $1 million in revenue, partly because of this point, because I think below $1 million, it's really hard to have a business that is saleable, that can be sold over to someone. Yeah.
And that's in revenue. What about profit? I mean, what kind of profit are you looking on for $1 million turnover?
I mean, look, generally it's 15, 20% at that size. It's funny because as the businesses get bigger, generally the profit margins, like the percentage, gets smaller.
Why is that? Because that's the opposite of leverage.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? I think it's just that...
Is that not managing costs?
It's a bit of everything. Yeah, I think it becomes harder to manage costs. It becomes harder to control the growth of the business, that sort of admin function. Also, there's a cost to do it. There's just a cost to doing business. And I think it flips back again. But I think by the time it flips back again, the business is a completely different beast.
Are we talking now you're doing millions in EBITDA at this point?
Yeah.
And then it's beginning to flip back.
Yeah. I mean, look, obviously really well-run businesses can be really controlled and it doesn't have to be that way. But what we see generally is that. And I mean, obviously I come from a world where I started in the big four accountancy firms. So working with PwC, and then moved into sort of working with owner-managed businesses. And I think one of the things that you really notice and it comes across loud and clear is like it's really rare for an owner-managed business to get beyond a certain point, right? There aren't really any owner-managed businesses above 10 million. To get them above 20 million is incredibly rare, and to get them to above 100 million and still retain 100% of the shares is near on impossible. And I think the reason is, I mean, it sort of leans into this, is that there is a method to go beyond that, to build organisation into your business, to build sort of structure into your business. And I think most entrepreneurs, when they're starting their first business, don't know that. I mean, obviously I do M&A, so I've got quite a lot of clients who have sold businesses and coming on to do their second and third, and absolutely without fail, they're always more successful faster in their second and third ventures than they are in their first. And again, it's because of this. It's because they learn when you start out, you don't know what you don't know. And then you do know what you don't know.
Experience and they're training the muscles, aren't they? They're training the right muscles. They go into the gym the first few times and they're getting stronger each time.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do the best businesses do with financial management?
This episode is sponsored by Initium Corporate Finance, advising ambitious business owners up to and beyond a company sale. Now back to the podcast.
So the absolute best businesses, they treat financial management as a department in of itself, and their financial processes are really well controlled. So they've got they understand what risks they are exposed to in the business, and they have particular controls to mitigate for those risks. They have really robust processes that inbuild those controls, and they have they have an inbuilt timely reporting structure. So they will get, for example, their month-end numbers probably within the first week of the following month, and they will be able to report on key KPIs and key data points in the business to enable decision making. And they will have a process that makes sure that always happens. So you've got a continuous feedback loop that says, we've tried something in the business. Has it worked? Has it not worked? What's doing well? What's not doing well? And ultimately, the accounts are just about tracking data. It's about tracking data points and, looking at it. It's not just about looking at, what money are what we're making. It's about how is the business performing as a whole and how is that affecting the bottom line.
Let's just look at acquisitions for a second. I mean, what makes an acquisition strategic? Not just like we're going to make the business bigger by this, but what is a strategic acquisition?
For me, I would define a strategic acquisition as one where we've thought about the outcome that we're trying to achieve and then looked at what target businesses can we buy that will help us achieve that outcome. And that could be a number of things, right? So it could just be that because multiples, the value of your business will increase as your profit gets bigger, right?
Yeah.
And so it could just be, I want a higher multiple. I don't just want a 1 or 2 times multiple or a 3 or 4. And so sometimes just buying a business that's in exactly the same as yours, just to get the multiple, the bottom number bigger, that can be strategic if that's what you're trying to achieve. And then sometimes it could just be thinking, actually, our market is getting really hard to trade. I need to see if I can get some kind of competitive advantage on the rest of the market. One way in which I might do that would be to buy a competitor or buy someone who can feed me leads or something that is going to reduce sort of your gross margin, so your cost of doing business. And in so doing, makes the whole thing much more valuable.
Clarity of goal, clarity of purpose. I mean, what are the keys to acquiring businesses successfully? If you were to say the 1, 2, 3, 5 keys, whatever the number is, what are the keys to doing this successfully?
Right, so here's the thing that you won't expect me to say.
Right.
The first thing is about getting the people right.
Right.
Yeah, so it's not actually about the numbers. Before anything else, the most important thing in an acquisition is understanding the people.
The people that are already in there or your own?
Yeah, no, there has to be a cultural fit between you and the seller and you and the people you're buying.
Okay, number one, people.
The team you're taking on. And yeah, the second one is cash flow, making sure that you can cash flow it, making sure that you can, the business is profitable to pay, if you've got deferred considerations, if you've got loan, if you're taking out debt financing, whatever you're structuring it, it's really important to make sure you've got cash flow in there. And those are 2 reasons why acquisitions fail.
People and cash flow.
Yeah, those are the 2 biggest reasons that they fail. Secondary to both of those 2 things is just about, okay, well, what benefits do we want to achieve? What's our timeline for achieving that? And what's a realistic way to sort of get that in? I think a big mistake that people make, and it ties into the people point, is that they try and make changes straight away, or they get really impatient. They're really eager to, they've worked hard. It's probably taken them a year, maybe 2 to buy a business. They've been negotiating. Then they've actually got to heads of terms. They're running through legals and due diligence and whatever. And then you finally get there and they're so itching to get the benefits. And then they just go in and want to change everything on day one.
That's a trap, is it?
Absolute nightmare.
So people can fall for that trap. It's like, oh yeah, I've just done it now. Let's go change this, and this.
Yeah, I've seen it happen.
Why do you say that is that's a big mistake? Why do you say that?
You'll have a revolt. Let's take it back actually. When you're buying a business, you're buying everything that makes that business up, right? If you're buying a distressed business or a small business, you're just buying an asset, right? I'm just buying your book of clients. That's different, right? I work with a sort of business consultant. He says, he sort of looks at it as like, are you buying the cow or are you buying the milk, or are you just going to chop it up and get the meat, right? And when you're buying the business, you're buying the cow, right? It's going to you want it to keep generating you milk or whatever.
Yeah.
And it's almost illogical for you to go in there and say, I've bought this business because of how it runs and because of what it does. And I really like what it does. And before even understanding what it does and how it does it, you just go in and change it because you think you can do better.
What's an alternative then to going in and changing it straight away? Of course, doing it over time, but is there a method to doing this?
Yes. So what we see with the most successful acquirers is, first of all, they have learning groups. So they will have probably one of each. So you have one going into each business.
Yeah.
So Someone from the acquired business might go into your business, and someone from your business might go into the acquired business.
Yep.
And then you set up sort of management groups where you can sort of learn, well, how do you do, what works well for you, what works well for us. And you slow the process down over a period of 6 to 18 months, right? And you don't change anything, you just learn for 6 to 18 months. And over that time, what you'll see is that the businesses themselves, if you've exposed them to each other and you've got strong enough management within the teams, the businesses themselves will come up with the business. It won't be from you. It will probably be from them. They'll come up, and that will be much more powerful. And you see private equity do it when they make acquisitions as well. It's completely different, but it works much better.
Now, you work with a lot of successful entrepreneurs, and you've probably been scolded a few times as well, done it right, done it wrong. How do successful entrepreneurs think differently about money, in your experience?
It sounds really cliche today, but I do really believe it is that they think about spending in terms of buying assets, right? And rather than buying liabilities. And whatever it is you're doing, for example, I'm going to build my profile, I'm going to start posting, whatever it is, whatever you're spending your time on, you appreciate that you're building something for yourself in the future, right? And if someone, let's say, for example, I'm going to invest in marketing, I might look at that and say, this is an asset that I'm building into my business, because if I've got a steady stream of clients coming in, that's going to have value to an acquirer of my business, right? Whereas someone else who is perhaps less successful, they're looking at it very much P&L thinking. They're thinking, okay, what's my initial return? If I spend £1,000 on marketing, what am I going to get out at the back end? And that is probably the first way of thinking about it. But
what's the mind shift what's the journey that people go on to move from that sort of, that rookie way of thinking, which is P&L? Well, show me the P&L. What am I going to get?
Yeah.
To someone who's literally focused on assets, that's motivated and driven by assets.
I think it is the move. Is the development of an entrepreneur from a business owner to an investor.
Oh, and how do you go on that journey?
You get a good coach. you someone who will hold a mirror up to you and sort of show you, where your weaknesses are, so it help you understand yourself better. I mean, look,
you've worked with good people, PwC. You've been rubbing shoulders with some seriously accomplished people throughout your career. You're an expert on this subject matter. Have you learned from people? Have you read books? Do you follow gurus in this area?
Yeah, all of the above. Yeah, literally. And I think and the funny thing is that all the people that I hang out with, or a lot of the people that I hang out with, are all the same. Right, they're all obsessed with this sort of thing, right? And in a normal room would be weirdos, right? Because everyone's talking about that. Well, what business are you going to do, and how you can do it, and how you building your wait list, and do you hear Daniel Priestley's last thing, and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, we're doing all the above. We're speaking to each other about growth and development. We are. I think you've got to be growth focused. Really, think about how can I be a better person? How can I be, and not just because I want to make more money. And I think that is another really important point. All successful business owners that I've worked with, they might start off with the money. Money's definitely a motivation, but it's not the primary thing. They've got something inside of them, some psychological thing, something that they want to do in the world, some good that they want to bring. And I think that it breeds a humility that I think allows people to sort of be growth-minded and really have that in a genuine way. And I think if it is money-focused, it comes with an arrogance, and it comes with a, I know it all mentality. And I think that's where mistakes happen. You get battered and bruised, and you either fall out or you develop the humility quickly, and you start learning and developing.
What books have you read that have inspired you most?
24 Assets, I think, is a fundamental.
Daniel Priestley.
Yeah, I think that's a fundamental book.
Does that get you into asset thinking?
Yes,
because they are. I mean, the tools as much as assets as well in that book.
Exactly.
So Daniel Priestley's 24 Assets. That's had a big impact on you.
I think that is a fundamental book. I actually tell all my clients to read that book. It is fundamental for anyone who's ever thinking about building a business and selling a business to just have an idea of what attracts value in my business. So to me, that is like it's a game. It wasn't necessarily an inspiration, but it was a game changer for me in terms of how I look at my business.
Yeah.
Alex Hormozy, I get it. He's a bit controversial these days because he's very sort of American about his marketing. But $100 million offers is potentially the best book on constructing an offer that I have seen.
Yeah, I mean, and leads, the over. I mean, it's a full playbook on generating leads as well, isn't it? Now he's got the models that go with that as well. What should an SME, a business owner, expect from their accountant, ideally?
Well, what should they expect and what they do expect are very different things, I think. What do you think they expect at the moment? Not enough, or? No. I think that they expect more but want to pay for less. Right. I think that generally most business owners they want their accountant to be, good with the compliance and box ticking and all of that sort of stuff. Yes, absolutely. I need you to make sure that I am as tax efficient as I can be with staying in the rules, and don't let me do anything that's going to get me in trouble. Yeah. Right. I think that is the basic requirement that any accountant wants.
Yeah. What should they expect?
So I think that is the fundamental. We need to make sure
that's
that
part
we are
of the problem.
compliant.
That's
it's
expecting.
Yeah. So I think that as you say, right, that is part of the problem because people see that as a box ticking exercise.
Yeah.
And there's actually quite a lot of skill and work that goes into that. I think it's part of what I think they do expect that they don't necessarily realise they expect is they also use their accountant as a business coach, as a business advisor, as I'm a therapist sometimes, like just whatever. Because most people are not lucky enough to have a business coach and be in a room with good business owners, and so they get lonely and use their accountant. I think they need to have a good business coach and then use their accountant to make sure that they've got good solid reporting. And then I actually think just don't be scared to have experts in different fields. So it's almost okay to say, I want to have a compliance accountant who does all my compliance stuff. And then I want to work with specialists on sort of prepping my business for exit and making acquisitions. And we work with, obviously we're a standard accountancy practice. And for some of our clients, we do the whole suite. But we do also work with some clients where we just are their sort of, their acquisition advisor. And that's what we do. And we're in their team in that capacity. And I think that it's also important for them to have a finance, doesn't need to be a finance director or a CFO. Maybe it's a financial controller or someone a bit more, but someone who's a bit more senior than a junior, but more in their business than their accountant.
Would you encourage lots of small businesses to hire that person full time?
I don't know if it's a full-time job. I think there's too much of a financial burden for a business to hire that person full-time. But I do think it's more than an accountant can honestly provide.
So are we saying that we should hire a 2-day a week or 1 day a week?
Yeah.
A part-time financial controller.
Yeah. Someone who can come in, make sure that be the bridge between your bookkeeper and you in the team and give
nice.
Yeah.
Financial controller to be that bridge, and probably to ensure that you're tracking data.
Exactly.
To make sure by the first week that everything's reported.
Yeah.
And you've got clear KPIs, you've got feedback loops in place. That it's a really timely reporting structure with it being in the first week. Maybe even get you to understand the risks.
Yeah, absolutely.
Can a final controller do all of this? Control the financial processes, understand the risks in your business.
I think if they are the right fit, if they're the right person, the right caliber, they will be able to do some of it. Will they be able to do all of it? No. Will they have will they have the sort of entrepreneurial nous to be able to sort of tailor that into the business? They won't at that level.
But there could be a very good financial assistant for the owner, though, couldn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, in the interest of what you said 10 minutes ago about moving up from being a business owner to an investor,
Yeah.
maybe having that financial controller is going to elevate you a little bit. They're going to do some of the harder stuff. You're going to have to put your business acumen and business nous into it so that you can help them understand risks and get controls in place, etc.
Yeah.
What's been the hardest lesson that business owners have had to learn when they go down acquisition routes?
I think it just comes down to you don't know what you don't know. And if you try and do it all yourself and say, I'm going to do this cheaply, you know, I think that's when you're going to it's going to blow up in your face.
When you say you don't know what you don't know, is that because of lack of due diligence?
It's a mix of everything, really. You know, there is a bit of a lack of due diligence. Yeah, okay, fine. What do we do in due diligence? But it's a really new process. And unlike with starting a business, right? So if you start a business, it doesn't work out. It's actually really easy to sort of unroll it, right? And go back and leave it as it was. When you buy a business and it doesn't work out, you can't unroll it.
Yeah.
Right? You might be able to, it'd be bloody painful. You know, there is a lot of, getting it wrong comes with a lot of costs, right? And I'm not saying not to do it. I think it's a fantastic thing that we should do. I think we've got baby boomers. I think it's actually really important that people are making acquisitions because we're going to lose a lot of businesses otherwise that are just, you know, they're just going to go off and then we're going to lose a whole load of jobs. And I think it's really important for the economy that this happens. But I think that people need to educate themselves enough to realise that they don't know what they don't know and get people in their corner, whether it's a good lawyer or an accountant or whatever it is, people who know
an acquisition team.
Yeah, absolutely.
What's in an acquisition team then? You got a lawyer,
an acquisitions advisor,
an acquisitions advisor.
Yeah, tax specialist.
Tax specialist
could be the same. Then you want. Now, not all of these have to be necessarily. Some of them paid and all different levels, but you want someone who understands people in HR.
Yeah,
yeah, really, really important. And you want someone who understands process optimization and managing a business, and not just managing a business of £5 million. If you're going to build a group, and if you've got a £5 million business, you're making another acquisition of a £5 million business, you're going to be a £10 million business. So really, you need someone who understands how a £15 million or a £20 million business operates.
A step ahead.
Yeah.
Someone who's been there, done that to a degree.
Yeah.
That's almost like a mentor, as someone who's been through it as well. I mean, people who are into this, they've got the right team around them all the time, aren't they?
Absolutely, they do. And the ones who are most successful, they've thought about this. They go into it. They know exactly, you know, what they're doing. They've got the people around them. They make the acquisitions. They've got a process for the acquisition, the integration, everything.
What's the biggest myth that generally entrepreneurs think about acquisitions?
I think actually the biggest myth is how much their own business is worth.
Right.
Yeah.
They think it's worth way more than what it actually
absolutely.
is.
Yeah.
Is that denial or delusion?
Delusion, I think. I don't think entrepreneurs are stupid. In fact, they're the opposite of that. I just think that no one's taught them to think like an investor. No one's taught them what valuation,
profit multiple, not reliance on them.
And all they hear is, Facebook sold for whatever, 20 times. I'm sure mine would sell for 10 times, you know, and it's just nonsense. It's just,
And why should entrepreneurs listening to this really seriously think about acquisitions for their business?
Because they will one day exit their business. There's no question. You will either exit your business because you've gone out of business, you decide that you're going to retire and you're just going to close the lights.
Yeah, I mean, the reality is there's got to be an exit.
Yeah, or you're going to sell, right? And so one way or another, you're going to leave. And understanding the value, understanding this process is going to be the difference between whether you're leaving on your terms or someone else's.
Got it. What's the first action the listeners should do now they've listened to this?
Get a valuation.
Get a valuation on their
Absolutely.
business.
Yeah.
Because?
Because when you know you're in power, and if you find out you've got a valuation, mate, let's say you've got 5 years, you want to retire in 5 years, that's your date, and you know that your valuation today is, I don't know, 800 grand less than what you thought it was. You thought it was going to be £1 million. You find out your business is actually only worth 300k. You know what? You've got 5 years to do something about it. Your head's not in the sand anymore.
The day you get that valuation, does that change everything?
Absolutely.
It opens your mind to all new possibilities. You start thinking differently about...
Because
you start being in reality.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Because people generally, they've got no idea really what it thinks. I mean, it was all started by my dad. My dad ran a great business, had no idea what it was worth, thought it was worth something, and actually it was worth a whole lot less, and was forced to sell it when he got ill, and sold it for next to nothing because he wasn't empowered at that. And if he knew the knowledge 5 years before, no doubt in my mind he could have sold for. He just would have had to make a few tweaks.
You know, my favourite part of this conversation has been your logical, step-by-step actions that people can take. You are definitely an expert in what you do. What's been your favourite part of this conversation?
I tell you what it is, actually, the reason I do this is because I think it's really important for people to be aware of these things. Because I think, as I said, it gives me so much... It gives me so much, like, sort of back. I get so much back from knowing that people now are empowered to find out and do something about it. Because I love entrepreneurs. I think they are incredible what they do. Like, they work like no one else. They develop themselves like no one else. And for them to be able to actually turn around and say, listen, you know what? If you just keep going, bury your head in the sand, you're not going to get the exit you want. Yeah. The retirement's not going to look the way you think it is. But you can do something about it. And I love that. I love talking to people about it because that's what I do.
And where can people find out how to go get their own valuation?
Well, I do offer a free one. So I can give you the link for that and we'll put that in the... I'll give you a link. Okay. Yeah, because it's a separate booking link. It just sort of goes straight into my calendar.
Excellent.
Yeah. And
Saul Cohen, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.